Hey everybody, Mike Naso here from IPR with the latest on the tropics, and our tropical wave in the Caribbean is making all the headlines. It's a very, very potent one, Invest 99L, and you can see it there showing. This is an image from about an hour and a half ago, and the reason I put this up there is to show this is a classical tropical wave. You have that movement out ahead of it, the classic curvature, but notice what happens now in the more recent imagery. You're starting to see the convection weaken, but as it does, notice how it's starting to look a little bit more as if it's fanning out. It's starting to show more signs of maybe spinning, maybe getting a little bit more circulation to it. And if that's the case, then this is moving more from being a tropical wave to a tropical cyclone. But they went out there, the aircraft went out there, they zigzagged around this thing, and they cannot close off a low-level center. And until that happens, there is no reason to classify this as a tropical depression or even a tropical storm. If this does become a tropical storm, its name will be Dean. And there is a very good chance that this will develop, but tonight, let's take a sleeper. This is not going to develop tonight, it doesn't look like. The plane will probably go out tomorrow, and there is I'd say a 50-50 chance that they either find what they did today, which is a very strong tropical wave with tropical storm force winds, but not a cyclone because it has no low-level center, or they find a tropical storm. Regardless, the impact to the islands, Puerto Rico and Hispaniola will be maybe some rain, some gusty winds, but generally it should be moving to the south of them. And the same is true for these northern areas of South America here and the ABC Islands. Now, our system will continue off generally towards the west over the next several days. And by the way, it has been moving quicker than it was yesterday, which is also a good thing because that may slow down any vertical stacking that could help it get developed. Here's a closer look as the sun goes down, and you can see we do have no real signs of a spin in here. This is probably where the circulation would be, somewhere in here. It may be a broad one, but it is not closed off and it's not at the surface if it is. And even though this system is showing good signs, you see these winds here, these are pushing away from the system, but you're not seeing any pulling in, and that's exactly the problem. We're not seeing it cut off and spin. We're seeing it fan out and push, and that's exactly what a tropical wave does. So this is not a tropical cyclone, but it could become one. Now you can see the upper level winds. There is a patch of about 30 knots of shear, and right now it's under about 20 knots, and it's holding steady, and it should pass through this overnight and into tomorrow. And then once it gets to the Western Caribbean, there's an anticyclone, high pressure here, and that will create a very favorable environment for intensification, which is why the computer models show that this could actually become a hurricane in the Western Caribbean. But first, it has to become a tropical depression or a storm. You can see the track model guidance here. The northern edge of it has it moving just south of Jamaica over the Yucatan towards northern Mexico. The southern edge keeps it straight on into Nicaragua. Probably would go with the middle of that guidance if you had to create a track towards, say, Belize and Mexico Yucatan border here, and then off towards Tampico, which many hurricanes have taken that track. It does appear that even though there is no strong ridging, there is enough. And by the way, this could be a very bad thing for the United States later this month and in September if this ridging pattern holds. But there appears to be enough ridging to where if a circulation center does form, that it could remain more of a westward moving cyclone. Now, keep in mind the center, if it does develop, is probably going to be more up in this region rather than down where the models are initializing it. So you have to probably say if it forms here, you have to have the model spread coming, so it will probably move a little bit more towards the northwest Caribbean, but in general towards the Yucatan Peninsula, Yucatan Channel over the next several days. And whether it's a tropical wave or a hurricane, we're going to keep tracking it. Right now, it does look, though, like the Western Caribbean is where this system will head. As the sun goes down, one last look at our system here, and you can see definitely looking better, fanning out, but the convection not as strong as it was, but already starting to flare up a bit as they do at night a lot of the times. And again, this is all heading in this direction over the next several days, and we're going to keep an eye on it. It could very well become our next system. Moving to the Gulf of Mexico, we have two main areas of low pressure with the trophiness. One appears to be right in this area off the Florida coast, and that'll probably drag on in and not do much. Another appears to be down here south of the Louisiana coast. This one would be the one to watch, and we could see something develop, but right now I don't think there's a very strong likelihood that anything's going to come out of that. But it may. I mean, we'll keep an eye on it. And then finally, in the Eastern Pacific, we've been tracking Eric, but that's been downgraded to a depression. Final advisory written, nothing there. But Flossie may be in the works by this little system out here, and then even more convection off south of Mexico. That could be our next system as well. Finally, Typhoon Usagi is down to Category 1, 75 miles an hour. It weakened steadily from a Cat 4 to a Cat 1 by the time it came in, but it did push a lot of energy into the Japanese coastline. And this was a direct hit, as we saw yesterday. It came in directly. It didn't turn as it was making landfall, so kind of a rarity to have them hit the mainland without turning directly. This one, of course, is starting to turn. It's moving north at 16. It'll come out and then turn and should hit the northern part of Japan and move on out. But nevertheless, it was a nasty typhoon. You can see the satellite of it there looking pretty ragged. In fact, you wouldn't even know you had a typhoon still, probably a tropical storm. But flowing down here, a lot of divergence left. Another possible system spinning up here, and we do have another depression that could become a storm and head towards the area near China and Vietnam over the next several days. We'll keep an eye on that. So all eyes are on the Caribbean as our tropical wave with tropical storm force winds moves westward. Could it become our next storm? Very possible, but we're going to have to wait and see.